Good morning, everyone. Namaste. I'm going to call in Archangel Michael to cleanse the space, to clear out all negative and lower vibrations from our mind, body, and soul, home and hearts, placing the white light of protection on us with this blue seal. And today, guys, we're going to be reading more out of my Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross. Such an important book, so that people can actually understand what the Dark Night really is. And we're still on the introduction portion of it. And it states, in 3 earlier books, he has written the active night of sense and spirit. He proposes to deal with the passive night in the same order. He has already taught us how to deny and purify ourselves with ordinary help of grace in order to prepare our senses and faculties for the union with God through love. He now proceeds to plan with a resting freshness on how these senses and faculties are purged and purified by God with a view of the same end, that of union. The combined description of the 2 nights completes the presentation of active and passive purgation, which the saint limits himself in the treatise, although the subjects of the stanzas which he is glossing is much wider one, comprising the whole of the mystical life and ending with the divine embraces the soul transformed in God through love. The stanzas expanded by the saint are taken from the same poem in 2 different treatises. The commentary upon the second, however, is very different from that of the first, and it assumes a much more advanced state of development. The active night has left the senses and the faculties well prepared through the completely prepared for the reception of divine influences and illumination in greater abundance than before. The saint has postulated a principle of dogmatic theology that by himself, the ordinary aid of grace, man cannot attain to that degree of purgation, which is essential to him to transformation into God. He needs divine and more abundantly, however greatly the soul itself labors. Writes the saints, it cannot actively purify itself, so the least degree prepared for the divine union of perfection of love, if God takes is not hand and purges it into the dark fire. The passive night in which God who accompanies the purgation are based on the incapacity soul begins to enter this dark night. So I want to read this, but I also want to talk about it. So that's a lot of words. I don't know why they make everything so wordy. It's like I feel like people are just going to quit reading if it gets that wordy. But, the Dark Night of the Soul is a very important aspect of the whole entire spiritual journey. And most of it, people at first think of it as a very negative thing. But you are paying back your karma, yes, and you can have multiple dark nights of the souls, which I personally have had multiple dark nights of the soul. I'm currently finishing up a very long dark nights of the soul, a 17-year dark night of the soul, which I'm very excited about. But I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I understand that God only gives you what you can handle. And I know a lot of people, because I'm on a lot of ascension groups, are really going through it. But you have to understand this. You signed up for it and you knew that you could handle it. And if you're not tapping into God and his resources and your team of light, it is going to be a very difficult task to go through. I personally, let's just take when I broke my ankle. This last year, I broke it in October, and I couldn't walk on it at all and put any weight on it for 90 days. which was very challenging for somebody who has ADHD and who is always on the go. At first, I really resisted it all, and I really, I emotionally cried and let it all out like every single day because I was just so dumbfounded. But they got me to a point where I had to learn to surrender it, and I had to understand that this is something that I signed up to go through. And once I started to surrender it, all my problems started to get better and easier. It wasn't like it was miraculously healed. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of it. But I started to really embrace it and understand that I signed up for it to learn lessons. First of all, not to be so distracted in life and to be more with oneness with myself. I had more time for meditation and all that because I couldn't get up and move around and be in 90 different places at one time. 555, as I just said that. So just know that if you're not surrendering it to God and the challenges that you're going through, that you're just making it more difficult. And that is what they're looking for you to do, is to surrender it. So I hope this helps. I love you all. Have a blessed day, and namaste.